All right, welcome back. We continue live right here, Pittsburgh CW. Bob Pompeani, Chris Mueller with you at 412-575-2600. All right, Chris, Leonard Fournette, all Steeler fans wanted him. He went through waivers, nobody claimed him, and he signs tonight a one-year deal for $2 million base salary with Tom Brady. And this guy now joins Shady McCoy, Ronald Jones in the backfield, Gronkowski, along with two very good receivers they have down there. What's your take on this move, and why didn't anyone else do it?
Well, I really don't know why anybody else didn't do it. I think once the guy clears waivers, though, you get a pretty clear sense that he wants to pick his spot and go where the situation is presumably the best. I would imagine Leonard Fournette thinks that playing with Tom Brady and with an offense that's loaded at wide receiver and really you'd think maybe at tight end with Gronk coming back, that he's going to have a chance to face a lot of teams that have to put 7 guys only in the box, and that he's going to be able to put up numbers. I like this deal for the Buccaneers. I think Fournette, you know what I think you get with him? He does have fumbling issues. He did miss half a season in his second year in the league, but he is a pretty sturdy, reliable runner otherwise. And I think he's a guy that they can give the ball to a lot, who's going to grind out tough yards. You know what this reminds me of? Corey Dillon. Not that he is the kind of player Corey Dillon was. Corey Dillon's a borderline Hall of Fame talent.
Right.
But in terms of a big-name running back getting out of a bad situation and joining up with Tom Brady, I think it could work very well for them.
And it certainly did with New England. There's no question about that. One other note before we go to the calls tonight, we learned the passing of Tom Seaver. Tom, terrific. One of the best pitchers I've ever watched in person. 300-plus wins. 3 Cy Youngs. The man was unbelievable. His knee always hit the dirt on his follow-through. He was just one of those pitchers who came around once in a lifetime, really, and yet he battled dementia in his last several years, and tonight, at the age of 75, number 41, is passed away. And certainly rest in peace, Tom Seaver. He gave baseball fans many great memories. All right, let's go out to the lines. We'll begin with Joe in Pittsburgh. Hey, Joe, how are you tonight?
Yeah, good evening, Bob. How are you?
Good.
I was thinking about Tom Seaver, and I was sorry to hear about his passing today. I go back to like the middle 60s as far as pitchers go, and I always thought that Koufax was the best I ever saw. But I would put Seaver right up there with him, 1A and 1B, because his statistics look tremendous, like he won 311 games and so on and so forth. But most of those wins came when he was with the Mets. And the Mets scored like 2 runs every game if you were lucky.
It's like Jacob deGrom. He has the same kind of problem.
Yeah,
I was going to say, nothing's changed for the Mets.
Really great hitting team for most of his career. He would have won well over 400 games because he was just tremendous. And I feel sorry for the fans today, that younger fans that never had a chance to see him at his best.
Joe, do you know what bothers me about a guy like Tom Seaver and you bringing him up like this? I'm 35, so it's hard to imagine a guy like not breezing to 300 wins, but getting there ultimately. I know a couple guys in my lifetime obviously have. It is insane to me that a guy as obviously great as Tom Seaver was, and this is a big pet peeve of mine, did not get then unanimously inducted into the Hall of Fame.
I agree.
Like, we had to wait until Mariano Rivera got it to have that happen. I know Tom Seaver, for me at 35 years old, me being, just growing up, he was sort of one of those footnotes in a baseball almanac. Hey, Tom Seaver has the highest percentage of votes on his first try getting into the Hall of Fame. That's ludicrous. Yes. Guys like that should have had 100% of the vote.
Sure.
Well, he single-handedly turned the Mets into no longer a joke, because the Mets were a joke for years until he came along, and he gave them relevance. He really
was unbelievable.
The younger fans today, I mean, the pitchers today, they go 5 innings and they're yanked. And, I mean, these guys would pitch until their arm fell off. I mean, and he was just so consistently great. We'll never see his like again.
All right, Joe, thank you. Appreciate that. Let's move along. We have Matt in Butler. Hello, Matt. How are you?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good.
Hey, got a question. I just do not understand the Pirates' strategy now, because from who was said to be on the trading block, which included really kind of starting pitching, it included outfielders, it included infielders. What are they trying to build from? I don't understand. It's not a build, it's not a rebuild. They have nothing to start with.
No, they don't. But what they're trying to do, and they were hoping to do, is have a guy like Holland pitch well and then move him, get something back. They were hoping somebody else like Josh Bell could hit the ball, maybe create a bigger buzz, a bigger market, some leverage, whatever. None of that happened. They all started so badly, Chris, and it would be trading at a very low point of view. And I don't know if I'd want to do that right now. And quite frankly, from what your guys said on your show, I forget who you had on, and he said there wasn't a lot of movement out there. Nobody wanted to offer the Pirates anything they wanted. So what do? You wait and you hope they can do it next year.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem. Keone Keller was probably their most movable piece. His arm injury was significant enough nobody wanted to bother. So you're going to get Bupkis there. Musgrove seemed to get the most interest, but that seemed lukewarm at best. To answer the caller's question, Matt's question, here's the problem. In 08, Huntington had, we didn't know this at the time, what Andrew McCutchen would become, a league MVP, but he had McCutchen. He had Neil Walker, who would turn into a very solid major league ball player. He got to draft Pedro Alvarez, like a consensus at that time best hitter in the draft, best college bat, right? He also had Jason Bay and Xavier Nady. He didn't make much of those deals, did Neil Huntington, but he had players who were playing well that other teams wanted. You ask, what's the Pirates' strategy? Tear it down to the studs and start over. Ke'Bryan Hayes, Mitch Keller, O'Neal Cruz, guys like that.
What
those
about
are the
Cole
players
Tucker
that they
as a
think
guy?
can help them.
What about Cole Tucker as sort of a Sean
Where's the
Rodriguez
bat?
type?
I mean, it's a first-round pick, and we're already talking about him as a super utility guy. And
I'm
the
just
problem
saying.
is, Sean.
Somebody
well,
has a
I know,
role,
but
that
I mean,
may be it for him.
That's a sad commentary. You know why Sean Rod had value was because his best year here, he actually had real home run pop.
Yeah, 18.
That's the name of the game. And, that's the name of the game. I hate to say it. It's fun that Ke'Bryan Hayes is an incredibly slick fielding third baseman. John Wayner already thinks he's the best in baseball, which is saying something because Nolan Arenado is like the second coming of Brooks Robinson in Colorado. You've got to find guys that can hit. That is the bottom line. You got to find starters that can miss bats and strike people out and go fairly deep into ball games, and you've got to find power and hitting. And they have very little of both.
And they're going to have to take some time. It's not going to be a rebuild that happens quickly. Howard joins us right now on the Bordas and Bordas Hotline. What's up, Howard?
Yeah. There was a guy by the name of Brendan Todd.
The golfer.
He made the final 30 in the FedEx Cup.
And your point?
I don't know. Have you ever heard of him?
Oh, yeah. And he had to do a whole bunch to get himself in that situation. There are a lot of talented guys on that FedEx Cup, and if you make it to the final 30, Chris, you're pretty, you've done some good golf, and his story's pretty incredible, I think.
Isn't he a Pittsburgh guy by birth? Am I crazy here? He's a Pittsburgh guy. He's one of the best putters on tour. I could have used a little bit of that today. It is funny when people bring up golf, having played around today, and you know how hard it is in competition to deal with the pressure that you put on yourself. It is astonishing that some of these guys are capable of what they are capable of. I was watching like some highlight reel that generated on Facebook today of the best golfers of the year, guys who are vying for player of the year. Pomp, it is just stupid what these guys are capable of. It really is. Yeah. It's not even a game that the rest of us are playing.
No, it's from 100 yards.
Well, maybe
Richie
Richie is.
And you know, the thing about it, Chris, if you can reduce, you talk about blow-up holes, how about just no more than 2 putts per hole? Regardless, you can 1 putt once in a while, but no 3 putts. If you do that, you'll save yourself 5 to 7 shots a round probably, and that's the biggest stroke saver you can have. Anyway, we got to go to a break. Before I do that, it's time for the Tri-State Office Furniture tweet of the day. This comes to us from our friend Seth Rohrbaugh over at the Trib, and it's pretty good. My 2 cents, he says. Todd Reardon got something out of Brooks Orpik as his body was failing him. He turned Derek Engelin into an NHL player. He saved Matt Niskanen's career. He elevated John Carlson into a star. I'm intrigued but pessimistic as to what he can do with Jack Johnson. That's a good tweet by Seth Rohrbaugh. We'll be back with more of your calls coming up right here. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call on Pittsburgh's CW.